Welcome to the third video tutorial for the Skyrim Creation Kit, Basic Layout 2. This tutorial will demonstrate how to use multiple kit types and more advanced techniques to spice up our basic level. Things are starting to get bumpy, but luckily designer Ryan Jenkins is here to level with us.
What we're going to do is we're going to be using the green caves, which in order to get all those pieces, we'll go right up here to the filter in the object window, hit cave G asterisk, asterisk. And alternatively, you can go down here to Dungeons, Caves, Green, and that'll get you all the pieces you're going to need. The point of this tutorial is we're going to take this last room that we created in the last tutorial and change it into a cave room. So, if you find yourself accidentally getting off the axis you want, you can hit T and you're right back to get the top view. So let's select all these pieces right here and hit delete. We'll get rid of those. And this is what we're going to start off with. Now, when you're creating an organic room, you usually want to start with a shell, a general idea of how big the room is going to be, real simple layout for you. And what we're going to use for that is the large room pieces. So let's get some of those out here. We've got cave G, L room, corner, O1, L meaning large, and then for a room, and then corner. And we're going to drag that out right into here. Hit T so we can center on top of that one. Actually, let's zoom out a little bit, and we're going to do our building over here. So one of the things to know about this kit, unlike the Nordic Runes kit, is in a lot of cases, these pieces, you're not going to be able to just make a duplicate, Control D, and rotate it and stick it back in. The reason why is because this cave was built, like I said earlier, and more organically, and the flow of each room, whether it be halls, rooms, walls, whatever, is a little different, and it's a little bit harder for us to make it as modular as the last one. So if you're looking at the naming convention, in this case, we're just going to switch this to the next corner that would fit there. Hit Control F, give it a sec, go down to O2, and we've got this corner now. Do that 2 more times, duplicate, Control D, Control F, 3, duplicate, Control F, O4, and we've got all our corners. Next part we'll need will be the walls, so we'll take that one, Control D, Control F, and cave GL room wall 01. So now we've made that one, and we're going to make these walls 2 pieces long, so duplicate, move over. If you want to get a closer look just to make sure everything's going good, you can hit Shift F, and that'll zoom you in on the piece you have selected. So we'll move in this corner piece, and let's make these other walls. Similar to the corner pieces, these are going to have just be walls 01, 02, and through 04. So now we've got this part all put together. We're going to want to duplicate one of these pieces, Control D, Control F. We're going to change it to a mid piece. That's we're going to need 4 of those to fill up this hole right here. Cave GL room mid 01. Control D, duplicate. So now what we've got right here is our shell. This is going to be the general look for what we want. And I'm sure you're wondering right now, how am I going to get in here? There's no doors. Well, we'll get to that in just 1 second. But for right now, we're just going to leave this off to the side right here and go back over to our hallway and work on our transitions. Now, when you have 2 different kits, you're going to want some sort of transition so that the player is just not suddenly thrust into a new layout or a new look, and it's, we don't want things to be very sudden. There are some actual pieces that have already been created by artists in the kits that'll allow you to do this in certain situations. Not every time though, so sometimes you're gonna have to build your own. So we're gonna go over that right now. First, in order to do this, we're gonna duplicate this hull piece right here, make this hull just a little bit longer. And then we're gonna build a transition out of a large hallway and some free walls. So let's take a look at that. First piece we're gonna use is cave G L wall door large L O1. Let's bring that out. Drag that out right here. All right, and then we're gonna duplicate that. And we're gonna move that piece out just a little bit and change it to cave GL hall one way 01. Kaboom. And we're gonna match that up. Now remember, like I said, sometimes these halls have a certain flow to them, so you need to make sure that they're going the right way. So there we go. So those two match up. And then we're gonna do the back end of this, copy, Control D, move it over there, Control F, and change that to cave GL wall door LB01. Turn it around, put it back there. Now we have a pretty good fit for everything. So take that transition, move them on top of each other. And now we're gonna start working off the grid. When you're creating transitions and working with organic kits, there's gonna be a lot of eyeballing, so you're not gonna wanna work on the grid. It's gonna be easier for you to work off it. So go ahead and click Q, and then we're gonna wanna lower this a bit. Now, if you only wanna lower it, if you don't wanna have to worry about it going off other ways, you can click on it on the pieces you have selected, hold down Z, and it'll only move it on that one axis. You can't move, see, no matter how hard I try, I can't move it left and right. It's only moving up and down that left axis. So let's go ahead and do that, line that up, you know, pretty good here. Yeah, that looks good. So now when the player's coming through this hallway, they're gonna start seeing caves before they get to the cave, and it won't look so strange. So we got that going. So now that we got that, let's move our shell over in the right position. Select all the pieces in the shell. Still working off the grid, move over here. And now we want it to be kind of at a weird angle. So let's go ahead and work off snap to angle. Control Q. Now we can do this in any sort of angle we want to. Let's take it right here. We're gonna do it kind of 45 degrees as much as possible. You know, just eyeball it, what looks good. So in order to do that, we're gonna get rid of this piece right here. So now we do have a way to get into this room. Reselect all those, move it on over. Let's change our angle a little bit. Definitely lower this. And we're gonna lower it quite a bit below the floor, and I'll get to why we're gonna do that in just a little bit here. But there we go. So there, now we have a room to work with. So now that we're working off the grid, let's deal with what happens if you want to add new pieces, or let's say by accident, oops, you move that piece over there and you want to get it back. You move it a couple times, you can't just hit Control Z. Now that it's over there, you want this piece, when you move it back over here, to line up with the pieces that are already there. First trick I'm going to teach you is something called Control K, which will always line up that piece to its original, 0, 0, 0, rotation, and all that. So now it's on that. But we want it to match up with the orientation of this piece. So we do something called snap to reference. The way you do that is hit Shift Q, and your mouse icon will change to some crosshairs. When it's over the gray void, it's going to be a red crosshair, which means you're not picking anything. And then when it goes over a piece you want, do any piece out here, goes to a white crosshair. So you click the piece you want, go over here, turn snap to grid and snap to angle back on, Q and Control Q, and then you'll notice, it looks like it's going to fit, and it fits just perfectly. So now, if let's say you wanted to build a hall off of this cave or something like that, it's going to be a lot easier to do using that snap to reference. If you want all of your references to go back to the reference of the world in general, where everything's 0, 0, 0, hit Shift Q and click somewhere out in the void, and it should go back to normal. So there you go. So you've got your room, your new cave room, but right now it just looks like you're using it in the exact same way that you were using the Nordic Ruins piece. It's just a big square room. There's nothing organic looking about it. It doesn't look any different from anything else. Well, we've got some pieces in our kit that we can use to change that. One of those pieces is, one of those sets of pieces are the pillars. Actually, it's large, pillar 01. Drop that right in there, that's a big one. Actually, we're gonna work off the grid and off, snap the angle, and then move this around, move it up and down, right? Excuse me, right to where we want it. Okay, so we'll do that. The next piece we'll use is going to be a free wall piece. And the cave G star L wall straight 01. Move that in. Now see, what that is that's a wall that's not really connected to any other piece, so you can just kind of jam it in there until it looks good. It's a little off the ground. Let's lower it a little bit. Okay, we'll put in another pillar, but let's make it look a little different. So we'll use pillar 02. Rotate that around. And you can use these pillars and walls to kind of create a new shape to your room. Do that, and then we'll fill up this seam here at the end with another pillar. Let's use pillar 03. I'm a big fan of the pillars myself. Okay. Now if you look at this one, you'll notice it doesn't quite reach the ceiling. Well, how do we change that? You can change the scale of something. There's a couple ways to do that. One way is to just double click on the reference, go to the reference window, and go where it says scale. Now, we have a couple rules of thumb. The largest you probably want to go with most references is 1.5. The smallest you want to go is 0.5, mostly because of texture degradation and things like that. Personally, I don't usually go over 1.25, but I just like to play things a little safe. So you can do it that way, or if you just want to eyeball it, you can click on your reference, hold down S, and then change the scale that way. Oh, perfect. Awesome, so now you got this nice little wall, kind of changes up the shape of this room. The other thing you probably want to do, and like I was saying earlier with this lift here, is change a little bit of the verticality in a room. You don't want a player walking into a room that's flat as a parking lot with no variation at all. And some pieces you can use for those are the cliff pieces. Cliffs 01, my favorite of the cliffs. So put that one there. This one's got a nice little ramp to it. So you can use this to get the player up and down from different elevations. Right there. And then over here, let's say we want, if this is a boss room or maybe a treasure room or something like that, we want some place for the boss or the treasure to be that looks a little more interesting than just, again, on flat ground. So we're going to use cliffs corner out 01 NS. NS means no skirt. Skirt's something that kind of helps it blend into the ground below it, but since it's not that high up, we won't really need a skirt in this case. So we'll just put that there. Raise it up a little bit. There we go. And then how are we going to get up there? Well, let's duplicate this cliff piece and put it over here. Boom, now we got a ramp up there. Let's move this a little bit. Actually, Control Z. Let's put it right there. So now we can put our enemy up here. We can put, all sorts of stuff. Anything we want to decorate this little area. You can, and even just as a player, if you put some enemy down here, player's now got a better angle to shoot them with an arrow or a spell or something like that. It just gives the room in general a different look. It makes the play styles a little different, stuff like that. Now, if you notice, turning back towards this way, you'll see some big holes out into the void over here. This is something usually that occurs when you're working with an organic kit. So we're going to patch up some of these. First one we're going to patch up is this one right here. And we do it by duplicating Control D, this pillar, moving it over here. Looking at it, there we go. So that one looks like it's nice and fills that gap pretty easily. Now I've got this big gap in the ceiling here. Now another piece we can use to help with this are the boulder pieces. Boulder L01. Let's go ahead and jam that one up in there. And yours isn't going to look exactly like mine because, you know, it's not as precise. So if you need to scale it or anything. So we'll put one there. Put another boulder. As you're working in this kit, you'll eventually probably have your own favorite boulder. Mine is Boulder L04. It is my personal favorite. Go ahead and rotate that one, kind of how you see fit. Like I said, feel free to use any boulder you want here. So there we go. Now I've got that hole patched up. But maybe down here you don't really like how this is looking. You want to make this transition a little better. Another piece you can use are the dirt mounds. Let's drop a dirt mound in there. Let's change that up. These work pretty well if you're changing, if you need a smoother surface for a player to walk down. Another thing you can use are the rock piles. You can use those to fill up strange, odd-looking little gaps and holes and things like that. And those basically just look like dirt mounds with rocks in them. Gives it a little bit more interesting look. Let's take a look. Looks like everything looks pretty good in there. You can go in game and give this a look and, you know, play around with it till it's exactly how you like.
Who left all this clutter in the kit? Phil Nelson? Well, next time we'll have him put it to good use as we learn how to best fill our level with interesting messes. Stay tuned and remember to refer to creationkit.com for all your modding needs.